it was a great war, and so Arjuna, the main hero, he had to play a big part in this war, and he felt compassion towards the result of this war. He saw only huge damage as a result. Imagine a Third World War, and we have a weapon that can destroy the whole world. So Arjuna could foresee this to be happening, and he saw that all the leaders would die, and if there are no such leaders, all people will suffer, and there will be unwanted children, and women will have no protection, and people are gonna prevent each other from having a good life. So it would be like hell. So this is what Arjuna could foresee, and he was very confused. He felt really weak, and he felt really weak, and he had to ask Kṛṣṇa how to act in this situation. And Kṛṣṇa was his dearest and nearest friend. Kṛṣṇa attracted the attention of all the people at that time. His acts and pastimes were so great. And but in this case, Kṛṣṇa is more like a storyteller of this situation, and so we are reading this Bhagavad-gītā with the idea to understand what is going on, what is this Bhagavad-gītā is about, what is God. Probably we are not thinking about God, or we don't have any kind of belief or faith when we read it. And Bhagavatam is pointing us to the source of everything. Bhagavan means, gives the meaning to everything. We say it Bhagavan or God. So this science is taught by Bhagavan. He is proclaiming that everything, I am the source of everything. But I am a living being, but of a different kind. We are also the source of something. We can be the source of our acts. We can make children. We can start doing something, but we are more like we more continue the thing. And the independent source of everything, the independent beginning of everything is Kṛṣṇa. And of course it requires some understanding and meditation to get that perception of this idea. We need some kind of atmosphere, an idea, and some people who share the same views, same understanding, and that's why it is captivating. The intellect, just the same as the word God, would be a little bit different than what the great sages were giving us. So nowadays, intellect is more like the memory of everyone. how quick he can comprehend things, how much of the information he can get. So it's not relevant to the Vedic view. The tendency is not the same in the world with the views of the Vedic times. It is impossible to overgo the intellect of a human by the intellect of the machine. The quickness of the operations of understanding of the decisions and intellect is not meditating. It sees. It is the eyes that do not require any of the proofs. So when we say there is a soul, for the intellect, there is no need of any proof to understand it. So when the machine or artificial intellect will see the soul, then it would mean that it is close to understanding. So the intellect should distinguish instead of just piling the information on top of another. And so in this field, artificial intellect is better than human intellect when you talk about this piling one information on top of another. But fine intellect, just like scalpel, the human intellect is so different that it can distinguish false and truth. It can distinguish. So the machine is more like a prolongation, or it's more like the machine intellect is going from human intellect with all the faults of human intellect. So when we read a Bhagavad-gītā, we develop the intellect that we're supposed to have, because it's not enough just to hear and memorize the information from Bhagavad-gītā. Bhagavad-gītā is the knowledge that is the inner knowledge of the soul. It is in the heart. The source of knowledge is in the heart. It's deeper than the intellect is situated. Intellect can see, but the soul is interacting. Intellect does not perform any interaction. And from the other side, the love is to God is absolutely spontaneous act, that no intellect or feelings required, and it is absolutely free of any karmic reactions. This is life with the God. And today we're reading from the devotional service. It's the chapter 12. We read many things, and some of the sacred things being opened. So if we're reading for the first time or second time, of course we can forget the title of the chapter and everything. Our memory is not so strong. So the artificial intellect and books are also considered to be artificial intellect. It can store all this memory. And in Kali Yuga, we don't have that memory. Our memory is not so strong, and our feelings are not so strong. We don't know what is fine hearing, or fine touch, or fine smell. So we stopped at this text number 8. It's bunch of texts. So the text number 8 from the chapter of devotional service. And devotional service is the thing that we need to establish in this world. Attaining the Supreme, this chapter is called. The less we have action without that is not made or moved by some gain, the less will be understand this. So here is the text. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always, without a doubt. Look, this is very simple. Just fix your mind, fix yourself on God, and you will be with Him. And you will see what the spiritual environment is, spiritual world is. Right now, we are in the body, we are in our feelings, we're in our understanding, meditation. And Gita says that all this understanding, all these manifestations is just a manifestation of guna, of material natures. Each guna brings you different understanding or perception of the reality. The same person could be an enemy to someone, or it can be perceived by other people as a best friend. So these are the influence of modes of nature. In some place would have communism, and some place would have capitalism, and it's just because the gunas are demanding on us to feel this way. Just like we live with our understanding, with this food and defending and sex and everything, we identify ourselves with these actions, but it's not the real freedom. A man can get real freedom when he's getting this real knowledge that is correct, where the real happiness is present, when he does not care or he doesn't worry about being dead. Death means materiality, and spiritual thing is eternal. And Kṛṣṇa says, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always, without any doubt. No doubt. It's a guaranteed. Kṛṣṇa gives a guarantee. Of course, being under the control of the modes of nature, we will be treated differently. But we continue to read Bhagavad-gītā. And the 9th text would be like this. Or, my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So, the first step was like the golden standard. This is how the knowledge starts. If we want to get real knowledge, we need to appoint something that is on the very top. So the goal of knowledge is the top knowledge, the absolute truth. So a person should know where is he going to. I had some problems with math in school, and still I have it. So I was really behind and trying to catch up. Algebra was a disaster, and teachers had to call for my mom to come to school, and they said, look, we have a problem with your son. Your daughter is so good in math, she's so good, but your son is so much behind, and probably we need to keep him in the same grade for the second year. And my mom was like, she thought, well, how can I help him? I don't really remember it, and I cannot teach him math. And they told her that you have your daughter, so she could spend time with him and just train him. So here is my daughter and my mom trying to train me in math. My mom is observing it, and my sister is explaining me stage by stage the math. And I as it goes, I can remember that they tell me in school just the same, and she says, do you understand this? I said, yes. Do you understand this? I said, yes. And then in the end, here is the result. Do you understand that? And I say, no. And she's like, she looks at me and said, okay, let's do it again. Here is one part. You understand that? Yes. Second part, you do understand? Yes. And in the conclusion, I don't understand. So she's looking at my mom and says, look, he's stupid. And meanwhile, my mom is thinking about it. I'm like, I have this thought in my head, maybe I'm really stupid and I cannot follow it. But my mom is looking back at my sister and she says, wait, I don't think he's stupid. Let's go through it again. Look, this thing he understands, this thing he understands. And then, like, why do you not understand this? She asked me. And I said, I don't understand the reason why is that like this. And my mom said, oh, okay. So he's not stupid, he's different from others. And then I realized that, oh, so I'm different. I'm not stupid. I was saved by that way. So it's very often in the school that they tell us something and we don't really know why we need to know it. They say, you have to learn this, you have to know it. These theories, Pythagoras theorem, I never applied it in my life. But if we try to connect math and all other subjects with the main purpose of life, then we would understand that everything is required. That any field leads us to understanding God only when we know the final goal. So that's why people nowadays, they are not interested in getting this knowledge. They only get knowledge, some professional knowledge, to get the job, to get money. This is really unpleasant. It's a stage when you feel yourself enslaved because you're in ignorance. The mode of ignorance is moving you. And nobody is teaching you anything. You need to bring some gain. So this way, there is no need for God. There is no need that people understand God. They don't want to understand. So then Krishna says, just follow these principles of Bhakti Yoga, regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. This way you will develop a desire to attain me. You just need this experience, you just need to follow these some rules, you need to have this day schedule, and then you realize it's good for your self that you can organize your day the best way. You'll feel it. You just wake up at a certain time, and then you do some physical training, and you will feel much better. And this way, step by step, little steps, baby steps, you get to a bigger stage. So same thing with this. Krishna says, if you follow just some little principles, you'll feel this. It will develop in you. So next text is like, if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. You will come to my perfect stage. What kind of perfect stage is he talking about? Like, in the morning, I'm having a problem waking up. It's hard to control my mind. It's a very big job. So it's hard to follow these principles of Bhakti Yoga. So what should that person do? And Krishna says, you just need to work for me. Do something for me, like building a temple, or publish the book, or distribute the books. This is what God does in this world. Nobody needs to do it, really, or have to do it. You need to be inspired by the Lord to do it. Not forced, but inspired. By this way, if you're inspired, this is how you understand that something divine is spreading. If you read Bhagavad-gītā, you will feel inspired. It means you have faith. This is like, yeah, so we want to do something when we have faith. When I felt Bhagavad-gītā for the first time, I wanted to spread this knowledge. I wanted to tell someone about this. Hey, you have some kind of a faith now, and you can attain some higher stage. And 11th text would be, if, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. Of course, it's very hard to go outside and distribute books and talk to them about God. It's, yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared. All sorts of people are there on the streets. Sometimes they're rude. Sometimes they come from different confession. Sometimes I cannot explain it the right way. So if I'm not inspired that way, we can just try to work and give up all the results of work to Kṛṣṇa. The 4th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā says, if you sacrifice the results of your work, you can attain some higher level of understanding things. I was reading to this philosopher. He became just like a sannyasi. He started to wander around the world. And he had many people he knew from higher society. They would dress themselves well, and they would be like well established in the world, just like nowadays people have their own clubs and they very stylish. So the history doesn't tell us how it happened to this guy, Francis Assisi, his name. He felt love for Jesus Christ. He read the Bible, and there was this line that was saying, just take off your clothes and just leave only sandals on you and walk. And everybody was like understanding this paragraph as you need to be more restrained from things. But Francis Assisi, he understood it as it was written there, literally. And he started his own movement based on this very principle, that you need to leave only one set of clothes for you. Take off your shoes, take off your sandals, and restrain from the results of your fruitful activity, and leave. And his father, he never accepted it, because he was rich and he wanted his son to be rich as well, but his son refused to accept it, take it. So his father was very disappointed in him. And this Francis, he was engaged into this strange activity, but one day his friends started to talk about him, that he became the main object of their talks. They said, let's go and find him and bring him back. Yes, he's a bit strange. Yes, he was a bit interested in some things before. So we can bring him back. And they've sent one guy looking for Francis. And he went there and he found him. And he saw Francis carrying these stones by himself. It was raining and he was carrying these stones. And he saw this man and he thought, Francis, I cannot recognize you. Is it you or not? It's like you're a different man. He said, I think that's you. So I came here to take you back, And so you give him, I will give you good life back. And Francis stared back at him, at that person, and he said, I'm already having a nice life. I already have really good life. Being restrained from my father's wealth and having this one set of clothes. So it was a sacrifice. And these people, these kind of people who act themselves like this, they sacrifice their life for the Lord. So the text number 12. If you cannot take this practice, then engage yourself in this cultivation of knowledge, because I cannot sacrifice my life to religion, because there are so many different sects, there are so many different, I cannot spend my money like to things I don't know. Then Krishna says, better than knowledge, however, is meditation. It's better. It's hard to get a vast knowledge in everything. You need to spend you need to absorb a lot of information. This process is complicated. And then you need to get to only one conclusion. And since the mind is always has many doubts, you need to have a lot of sources of information to make this decision. But meditation concentrates you on one thing. It gives you the absolute truth right away, without any waste of your time on getting all this knowledge. But, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. So it's even higher. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. So the peace of mind can be attained only by renunciation. If we are not attached to this fruitful activity, then we will be enlightened. Then we will be happy. Because these fruits of our action ties us up. These handcuffs of wealth, of fruits of action. It's everywhere like this. So we've built our country like this, and the economy is based on this principle. These things are all pointing to the attachment to the fruits of action. Everybody wants to have their own property. If someone would have the lack of things he needs, he would start a war. He would start to take it away from people. And the only reason for that is you attach to the fruits of action. So when you renounce from these things, you give it to the Lord, then your mind goes the same direction. Where's your wealth? That's where your mind is. These are the different ways for the different types of people that go into the same goal, to the same source. Why do you need your mind? Just to reach the Lord. Why do you need your work? To reach the Lord. Why do you need to make money and the results of your action? To reach the Lord. This is the basic principle of education. Otherwise, everything will be engaged in our own self-glorification. Text number 14. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. These texts are hard to be commented. If I give everything to the Lord, what do I get back? Because since I live in this karmic identification, I need some result of my action. And Kṛṣṇa says, such a person is so dear to me. We can only understand this by percepting the Lord, by understanding what is the value of such things. Just like one spiritual master said, all the wealth of this world, all the knowledge of this world, if you combine together, it would not be equal to one little particle of dust from the feet of my spiritual master. Spirit has eternal value. It's eternal. It's ever increasing. The value is always going up. This is the nature of spirit. And then there is such a description in Brahma Samhita. It says that there is a Chintamani land that is
the
spiritual diamonds. And you cannot buy any of this, of that piece of land with any money, because we don't know what the soul's value. It's so small, and still we cannot buy it. Even if we try to give all the universe for it, we still cannot buy it or get it. It will be nothing comparing to what the soul can feel. This knowledge is unknown to us. We don't know what it is. So Krishna says, such a person is very dear to me. Because this is about personal attitude, personal relationship. The most elevated souls are those who are connected with the Lord.
Тот, кто никому не причиняет беспокойств и сам всегда остается спокойным.
He, by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Who can be? Who can have such qualities? It could be some stone, or it could be a very elevated soul. Because it's over-human qualities. This is the real qualities. A person can be so dear and so close to the Lord. It means the connection is so tight. It's overwhelming. The love to God is overwhelming that way. And Kṛṣṇa is also saying like about his affection. He says, this person is very dear to me, very dear to me. Every verse he's quote, he's telling this. The next one will be, my devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some results, is very dear to me. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspiciousness. Things such a devotee is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equiposed in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such person is very dear to me. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me this supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Every action has some defect, always, Bhagavad-gītā says. Like fire is covered by the smoke. Whatever you do, people will say, it was done not perfect. So Kṛṣṇa says, whatever you do for me, I will protect you from everything, from anything.
Те, кто обладая непоколебимой верой, идут вечным путем преданного служения, сделав меня своей высшей целью, очень и очень дороги мне. Это последний текст.
So the last text of this chapter
как бы он здесь суммирует.
is some Kṛṣṇa is summarizing. He says, those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Look how beautiful this chapter is. So, this sacred knowledge is the chapter number 7 was knowledge of the absolute, but chapter 8 is titled Attaining the Supreme. The next chapter is very difficult though. Anyone who is taking part in our programs should know that it's very complicated chapter, and it's like Vedanta Sutra. It's like learning Vedanta Sutra, and you know Vedanta Sutra is very complicated text, devotional text. It is called the most confidential knowledge. Next time we're gonna read from chapter number 13. It's called Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Chapter 13. If we will be able to understand the chapter 14th chapter, then we will be able to understand anything. Any questions or comments? I have a question, Guru Maharaj. What is more important for Kṛṣṇa? The fruits of actions or love? Love is the motive. We don't start with love right away. It should be awakened first. But the purest motive we can have is the desire to clean our heart, That's the main important motive. So this is our starting point. And if that was the good of goodness, but if we are moved by mode of passion, then we are moved by this will of getting some wealth, some fruits of activity. This is passion. And the mode of ignorance tells us, you read this, you study it just to become a god. You read this and it's like all about you. But this is the lowest guna, lowest motive. That way the false ego is growing. This is the fruit of mode of passion. And the mode of goodness is the best. And then we need to go beyond this. When you look no gain in any of your action. Action can be different. Anything, you can do anything but the sinful activity. Another question is, it's very hard to do things without any profit for myself. No, it's not complicated. It's not complicated. Whatever you do, you always do for yourself, for your family, for your country. These are egoistic ideas. But if you do something for your spiritual master, since I don't know how to do something for the Lord, I can help my spiritual master in his things, and it's easy then. If I have a spiritual master, it's easy to help him with things he's doing already. Next question is, Kṛṣṇa is saying you need to be renounced from fruits of your action. and it's worse than the meditation. And yeah, it's renunciation from the fruits is like the Krishna consciousness state. Chapter 5 is telling us about the Krishna consciousness and the renunciation from the fruitive activity. Not just renunciation from the fruits, but about offering the results of the activity to the Lord. So when you are renounced, it's lower than when you offering your things to the Lord. Another question. Please explain the text number 19. What does it mean to keep the silence all the time? Krishna says, I am silence in Bhagavad-gītā. Look, he is very interesting. What can we hear in the silence? If there is nothing going on around, like no noises, we can hear Krishna. But when it's like all noisy, we cannot even hear ourselves. So it's just like our mind is screaming right now and preventing us from understanding and hearing the topic of discussion. That's why we need to keep silence, so we could hear, we could really hear. And when our mouth is closed, but our mind is not, it's still talking, we will still won't be able to understand, to hear something. So silence means I do not speak of myself. I only speak of Krishna. That is silence, to talk about the Lord all the time. Next question is, please accept my humble obeisances. How can I perceive the deities? She should go and die, just entreat him, just like it's the Lord in front of me. And no, you don't really need to do that right away. You need to read Bhagavad-gītā bit by bit. It's not about taking you to some ritualistic activity. You need to get some knowledge and understanding first. What does it mean to be engaged in devotional service to the Lord? And you need to understand it just like it said in Bhagavad-gītā. Krishna says, those who study this knowledge, those who follow this practice and listen to Bhagavad-gītā, you engage your life in devotional service to me. Then you become a devotee. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Why Krishna kept lives of all the Pandavas and killed the rest? And he said, no, Krishna didn't kill anyone. He didn't take any weapon. Krishna was not killing anyone. The time is killing. Krishna is always releasing everyone. Everybody who died on that battlefield, Kurukshetra, they all been released. This is the nature of Krishna, to release. But time is killing, and Krishna is still perfect and clean. If you interact with Krishna, you will never die. There is a deep meaning in this statement. You will never see yourself defeated or dead if you're in the Krishna consciousness. You will never understand that you left your body. This is Krishna. The rest is the manifestation of modes of nature. All the conditioned souls, they acting, and that's what they think. Can I donate some money from the name of my relatives, but without them knowing it? Do they get any benefit from it? Yes, it means agyata sukriti. It means something good is done without my understanding it. Like they take my money and send to donate it to the temple construction, and I get this agyata sukriti. Of course, an action in knowledge is better than action in unconscious way. Please accept my humble obeisances and explain me what is the spiritual power. Why is it ever increasing? How can I use it properly? Bala is spiritual power. Spiritual power is simultaneously oversensitive, fine energy, and at the same time it's harder than diamond. If you can connect these two qualities, you will understand what bala is. Only very high elevated devotee understand these things. These two objects together is spiritual power. You're oversensitive, but you're so strong that you can overcome any disaster of this world. Just like Prabhupada, they were saying he was true gentleman. He was always acting like a gentleman, but he would never sacrifice the main ideas of the philosophy. Because when we change the philosophy just to make some friends, it means we're not following. It means we're not diamond, as strong as diamond. And at the same time, from the other side, if we're very harsh and direct, then we're not gentlemen. So in the material world, it would be like one of the two. Cannot be two at the same time. Harsh and soft. Prabhupada sometimes would say very heavy words, but at the same time, he would be very soft. Every person would feel happy. That was the type of the words that he would say. What is the nectar in instruction? How can we feel the nectar in instruction when they teach you a lesson all the time? No, there's nectar. And the first day, Prabhupada said, the first day I met my spiritual master, he crushed all my ideas in my head. But it is by doing that, he elevated me towards the Lord. This is bala, this is spiritual power. The next question is, what spiritual practice should I start with? Please read Bhagavad-gītā. This is the best start for your spiritual practice. If you trust, if you have some trust in this parampara, in these teachers, then you can start chanting holy names. If you don't have any trust yet, then just read Bhagavad-gītā. Otherwise, if you build some trust, then try to chant Maha Mantra, and you'll be able to understand it. What is sinful activity? At the same time, what does it mean? When you do something, do it as an offering to me. In Sanskrit, this word action means karma. Sometimes we do something and it's good, it's karma. But bad things would be vikarma. Krishna doesn't say whatever you do, whatever vikarma you do it for me, as an offering to me. He says, no, whatever karma you do it as an offering. It doesn't mean that if you eat a person, if you eat a human, eat his flesh, and you make it as an offering to the Lord. No, it's not a thing. Not sinful activity. We're not talking about any sinful activity in these verses. And sinful activity doesn't set, the understanding of that is not set by a human. Good and evil cannot be distinguished by ourselves. Before we get to the laws of religion, the laws of the Lord, because these laws are not established by man. Yeah, there was some verse that was titled, there was a baby asking, what is good, what is wrong? He was asking, like, what is clean, what is not clean? If I wash my hands, why is it clean? What can I do with dirty hands? What if I eat something using spoon and it considered to be not clean? Why is that? So there are some fine things we need to understand, and we don't understand right now. But if we follow this knowledge, we will have these eyes of knowledge, and we will see. Before, it was okay to wash your body once a week, and now you understand that if you wash your body today, if you didn't wash, then you feel really bad. By doing this, you understand that being clean is better than being not clean. So it gives you the ability to distinguish. An artificial intellect is giving you whatever is programmed, but the soul cannot be programmed into it. Don't make this mistake. Cyborgs is a dream of many scientists nowadays. They would like to transfer the soul into the artificial body. This is what they think, that soul can be taken to a different body. They're crazy. Next question. How important it is to follow a strict day schedule? Day schedule is important because our life is so different nowadays. Like right now there is a quarantine, lockdown, and people are at home. They are not staying in the traffic jams. And usually people are like in passion. They're always rushing after something, running after something. And the mind is not pacified. But if our life schedule is different, that our mind is peaceful, then we will be able to understand things. But in the passion, it's impossible. This mode of nature will not allow anyone to be happy. So the day schedule is required, different day schedule is required. 4 o'clock should be your awakened time. You need to go to the toilet. You need to do the meditation before you go to work. Not only wash your face and nose and run, but you need to wash your mind as well. Is it written in your somewhere in your schedule? They're trying to work on the artificial intelligence, but they have no such plans to clean their mind. Their mind is not clean. How they can make artificial intelligence this way? So that's why the internet is such a dirty place. You cannot make anything better. So you need a different time schedule to change your guna. Next question. Critical criticism. Do we need criticism? Yeah, if we do some service, if I do some service, then I need to be critical to understand if I do it good. But negative criticism it means I try to exploit people. That criticism is bad. But if I give critics to my child, it means I try to bring him up. If I'm a teacher, if I'm compassionate, if my heart is not clean yet, then I need to work on myself first. Is it safe to be in between of two religions? There are no two religions. There is only one religion. It's really wrong question. But if you mention like confessions, then it's different. Because we are not after policy. Bhagavad-gītā doesn't say that there are some one religion, two religion, three religion. No, there is only one religion and one God. That's why we read Bhagavad-gītā. What is the best verse of Bhagavad-gītā for you, and why? What's your favorite? Oh, I cannot say it this way. It depends on what verse I can feel better this time, at a certain period of time. It's like a house has many windows, and sometimes you need to open this window and sometimes the other one. There was one verse that brought me a lot of understanding in my spiritual life. I've been using this verse for 10 years in a row. Many programs and lectures I went based on this text. It played a big role in my life. And this verse is about feelings. Life feelings is higher than the dead matter. And over the feelings there is mind, and over mind there is intelligence, and over intelligence there is a soul. I drew this scheme, and I was explaining to people, look, here is the layer of feelings, 5 feelings there. What are the functions of those feelings? And then the mind is higher than that, on top, and I tried to understand what are the functions of the mind. This is how the mind works. And then over it there's an intelligence. And why is intelligence is higher than the mind? Because it can control the mind. Whatever the mind trying to do, the intelligence sees where is he going. That way we can approach to understanding the soul. We can calculate that there is a soul over it. And it was very valuable for me. At the same time, I was like trying to understand it by myself, and I was teaching students in school, on public programs, and many people started to understand that what the soul was. So this verse for me was very important. But other than that, any verse in Bhagavad Gita is very important. So they say Draupadi was a partial embodiment of Lakshmi.
Они были детьми полубогов.
They were children of demigods. Kunti's children were demigods' children. Arjun was the son of Indra, Bhima the son of Vayu, Yudhishthira was the son of Yamaraj, Nakula and Sahadeva. They were not children of Kunti but Mandri, I think, from Ashwini Kumars. Because her husband, the husband Pandu, he could not have children. And they could. Draupadi was not Lakshmi herself. It's like a partial revealment of Lakshmi. Can I preach if I have some things that make me feel bad? That someone inside me tells me that it's not good. Well, it's a good feeling. It's really good. If you feel that you're doing something bad, then it brings you up. Next question: if my husband is criticizing me all the time, and I don't do anything wrong, what should I do? Of course, if it's like heavy criticism, it's hard to stand it. And sometimes a man can be strong, heavy on his wife, and sometimes he's soft. Sometimes he's nice and mild, and sometimes he's very harsh. And this is the nature of man. Don't need to perceive it this way. A woman in family life, she should be just like the dog. Look, you take the dog, you put it on a certain stage, and she would be like, "Quack." You take a bucket of water and pour it on top of the dog, and she would still like to crack, like nothing is going on. So a woman should act the same. But if you're always upset about things that is going on around, then it will be impossible. Just don't pay attention to these things. This is just the material nature manifestation. You should not expect that a husband would be just the way I want him to be, or my wife should be the way I want her to be. If there is some arguments or a quarrel, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. And you should understand that before you're giving 50% of yourself to your husband, it would be like, you're doing nothing here, he would say. Every husband would say, like, look, you're a housewife, you're not doing anything. I always work, but you're here, you never do anything. This is just, it's normal. You need to be patient. Modern wives, they are not patient enough. They say, look, I gave you a 1.5% of everything. No. Just give him 50% of your life. Do not talk to him about the divorce. Give him 50% of your life. Then he will see you. Otherwise, he will try to exploit you all the time. It seems like he's exploiting you. You need to go through this. This is just nature. Of course, if this couple is both of them are devotees, then you will not feel this, because it will be very, very mild. In Krishna consciousness, we expect that there will be some conscious approach. We should understand and respect each other. But the material family would not have the same experience. People will die living this life and never feel appreciated. It's tamagun. How can I see my soul? We need a microscope. I don't know how we get this kind of microscope to see our soul. It is said in Bhagavad-gītā, serve Kṛṣṇa, think about Kṛṣṇa, do it, and through these deeds you will feel your soul. You will not be able to see it with your material eyes. You see yourself, but you will not see your real self. So the eyes needs other eyes to see ourselves, a reflection of us in the eyes of others. When we serve to Kṛṣṇa, we look into his eyes and we see ourselves. How good are we at our service? Then we can understand our soul. Who can touch my soul so I feel it? This body can be perceived only by the touch. And when Kṛṣṇa is touching us, we feel it. Just serve him and he will touch your soul and he will reciprocate. At that time, we understand I am the soul. Next question. Hare Kṛṣṇa. What are my obstacles in getting to certain goals of life? A teenager? How he can get his life goals? Our ultimate life goal is to serve. What does it mean? It means the ability to see what good can I do for the society. If I try to find this vision, then I will be able to understand my nature. Try to make some good. That way you will understand your own good. When we live this life for oneself, it means artificial life. It's an artificial life. There will be no good to no society, nor yourself, nor your family. That's why you need to study Bhagavad Gita to understand what is good. then you will develop this fine intellect and you will be able to understand what is your goal of life. Krishna says we need to equally look at the friends and enemies. How can we get to this understanding? What are the steps, practical steps? On the way to Krishna, it is established naturally. Our friends see our good sides and always highlight it and inspire us, correct us. Usually they forgive some bad things, bad actions to us, and our enemies, they will never forgive our wrong activity. When we measure it, we will see the balance and we will understand I need friends and enemies both. That's why I am equal. I'm treating equal both. It's not like I'm trying to be friends with my enemies. No way. But the relationship, we need to understand that we have to respect and know the opinion of my enemy. Because that way I know my weak sides, my bad points. My enemy would always be harsh on me. When we preach, we face these kind of people. They point our defects in us. That way we progress. And so they are real well-wishers. What if senior teacher is acting wrongly? Say it again. What if our senior is doing something wrong? How can I ask him? Or maybe I think it this way. Just ask him. I think you're doing wrong. Ask him this way. My husband is very compassionate towards those who drink and live on the street. Should I talk to him? Should I talk to these people? How can we improve their life? Yeah, it's possible. I remember in some of the Ural area, devotees were running this Food for Life project, and they were cooking for such people. And those people, they were first attracted by the food, and then they started to come to the temple and work there to get some food. And they really liked the place. So the devotees, in the end, they gave them some room for them. Some of them became devotees. They were working there to get the food. And thanks to prasadam, some of them became devotees. They have bad habits. And that's why they went down. But if they have this prasadam association, they can be released. How can I treat my anger and irritation? Anger, you cannot control the anger totally, because feelings are always unfulfilled, and they become irritated and feel angry. So you will always feel some kind of anger. Even the Lord Chaitanya had anger when he saw those drunkards attacking Lord Nityananda. And Lord Chaitanya was the most peaceful sannyasi ever. Even Jesus Christ had anger. But you need to use it properly. You need to learn how to use your anger properly. When we preach, this is the proper way of utilizing our anger. Sometimes we call them rascals when we preach. It should be used the right way. If someone lies a lot, how can we make him honest? Oh, everybody is lying nowadays. Yeah, this is the rule for all the conditioned souls, actually. Everybody is lying. But sometimes you have this bad habit of lying. It could be a game to your mind to make a picture vivid, more vivid. Like when I was a child, in our yard, we had a girl. She would always tell stories. Always. That was her way of life. And then everybody would just treat her easy, like they knew she would tell story. If you have a habit of telling stories and lines, you need to read Bhagavad-gītā. It's the self-discipline of mind. When he is lying, he enjoys the lie. He enjoys this. If you read about absolute truth, if you read about laws of karma, about the reaction, then you will understand it. There was one driver, and he was crazy. He was driving back and forth. No one knew how to stop him. It's just like the liar acts. There was one devotee who told him one phrase and said, look, if you drive in the way people feel scared inside of the car with you, you will get the reaction, the karma. And he stopped immediately. He realized that he doesn't want to have those reactions. 50% of the service to a husband. What does it mean? If your husband is good, then try to see his reaction. Good service to a husband means he becomes more enthusiastic, inspired. He is very happy. It means your service is very good. That could be the answer to your question in general. Even though he has some mistakes or faults in his work, it will keep him, your attitude will keep him from being depressed. But if he is always depressed and he is not happy, it means a wife does not making it right. But of course he might have his own problems, and maybe he's rascal, then it's completely different thing. But now we're talking about only from this perspective. Otherwise, family life would be really a place, something that he would not like to spend his time in, and then he will find another woman. Like in Mahabharata, there was Draupadi, and she was into these 5 guys, and she had to marry all of them. And all the princesses of Dwarka, they were asking her, how can you manage between all those 5 husbands that you have? How do you manage to make them happy? And she was like explaining that. You need to read this. They say the best servant is invisible servant. How can we become such a servant? Oh, you have nothing to be worried about. It's okay to have this dish. It's already cooked, but sometimes it's better to make it more salty. Don't worry about it. Don't be a servant of someone. Be a servant of the Lord. Then we will get the understanding of what is real service is. Otherwise, we will just try to praise the feelings of each other, and we will degrade this way. Why Jaya and Vijay decided to become demons? They were devotees. Didn't they understand that if they become demons, it would be a problem? Didn't they had any understanding of how heavy the situation is? Oh, no, they didn't want to go to this material world. They just wanted to finish it as soon as possible and leave. But really, they didn't care about where they were. They were all transcendental. They cared less. They didn't care about this play. They wanted to go back as soon as possible. They're going to be Pandava Ekadashi soon. What do you think about dry fast? What date is it now? Is it Ekadashi? Is it on the 2nd of June? Oh, okay. So be ready. Be ready, everybody. You should not eat and drink. But really, it's good to fast sometimes. And this Pandava Ekadashi, it's not that strict. You need to understand. Yeah, it's good for your spiritual life. It's good for you. Pandava Ekadashi is very powerful. And there was a story about it. It's about Bhimasena, who cannot fast on the Ekadashi. He is a son of Vayu. And it means his body was very light, and he could jump and fly for a long distance. And since he had such an influence of Vayu, of wind on his body, he could not stand any hunger. So when Kunti was cooking for her sons, she would place more food to Bhimasena because of his nature. And she would put like double and triple portions, and everybody would stare at him and give him like half of their portions. And then he would be okay. And he would have great force, great power. And he was saying like, I cannot fast on Ekadashi because my fire of digestion will burn me down to ashes. And they said, okay, Bhimasena, there is one day a year that you need to fast. It will be called Pandava Ekadashi. That's why it's so powerful. But it doesn't mean we need to break all the Ekadashi days and fast just only one day. No, it's not good. Every Ekadashi has its own power and good sides. And Vimasena, he could do only 1 day a year of fasting. A question from Academy of Relationship. Can the demigods come to this planet still? Yeah, surely they can. They come to any good kirtan, but it doesn't mean we will see him. It's not some visual form, perceptible form. Not in the age of Kali. My husband becomes very angry when there is no meat. What qualities of a wife will be demonstrated this way, facing this? Of course, it's like it's tolerance. Any situation of your life brings you tolerance. If you tolerate, you will live. For a family life, to tolerate is the main thing. Of course, if he's eating meat, he will always get angry. Try to deal with him, not to cook meat for him. Try to explain him until you get to the point that it is not your just random thought. It's like very important to you. When he understands it's important to you, then he will respect you. And he will say, why didn't you tell me right away that it was important for you? That it was not random. I would respect it from the very beginning. What is partial expansion means of Vishnu or Shiva? Advaitacharya is expansion of Shiva. No. Advaitacharya is Mahavishnu, but at the same time he's Sadashiva. Just like Lord Chaitanya, he is Radha and Krishna in one. 2 in 1. It is possible in the spiritual field. Sometimes a person can get some special abilities, Shakti Avesha Avatar, like Prithu Maharaj. He is Jiva Tattva, but he has some energy and power from Vishnu, and he can act like Vishnu. It is possible also. It's just the nature of spirit. There is no individualism. It's just a combination to do the service. Please explain, is onion and garlic is forbidden product, or you can take it from time to time? I think that onions and garlic are forbidden, even though Srila Prabhupada was never mentioning it. But Ayurveda science is telling us that these are not the products like food products. I don't know why Prabhupada was not mentioning it like this, but one time when they were invited, he was invited with his disciples for a dinner at some Hindu place for a dinner, and if you refuse, you can offend them, and everything was cooked with onions. And for India, it's like so much common. You need to say Jain diet. That would mean no onions diet. Otherwise, they will use these onions everywhere. And so Prabhupada was invited, and they made this really nice prasadam and offered it to the Lord, the deities. And one of the disciples, like Malati, I think, was sitting next to Prabhupada and trying to eat. And she is like, oh, there's onion. And she was like, Prabhupada, there's onions. And Prabhupada says, no, there's no onions. And she's like, look, Prabhupada, there's onions. No onions. Look, onions, no, eat. No onions. So there was a compromise made in this case. But Ayurveda says it's not food, it's antibiotic. It's more like a drug, a medicine. So from one side is good for your health, from another side is not good. You cannot eat it all the time. And sometimes Prabhupada would act like this, but he never used onions in his daily life, ration, in his daily. And regarding meat, he was asked, what should I do if there is nothing to eat and there is only meat? And Prabhupada said, I would rather die than eating meat. And mushrooms, there is also a vague understanding of this topic. And there was one guy who asked him, like, can we eat mushrooms? And he said, what is it? And they said, well, it's like the bacteria that grow on marshes and in that area, like bacteria. Maybe they explained it to Prabhupada wrong, but the moment he heard it, he said, no, that thing you shouldn't eat as well. So we don't know. So it's better not to eat it. Sometimes devotees eat mushrooms. Some devotees do. The last question, Guru Maharaj. 6 years ago, I've heard man's voice from my mind. Not from my mind, but from the heart. It was very soft and full of love. Was it like spiritual? Was it true? It gave me some spiritual power. Yeah, if you heard this voice, you don't really need to ask about it anyone. Yeah, I've heard this voice also, but usually people don't talk about it. If you hear this voice, if you feel inspired, it's good, but be careful. It's better to listen. It's better to listen to your words of your spiritual master than the male's voice from your heart. Your mind can add to it. Okay, thank you so much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.